Right, Pedro faculty and staff, Jonathan Higgins here, and I'm going to give you a brief run through on how to utilize Turnitin.com and kind of what it looks like when you get into it a little bit. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to use your email address, that is that at stjohns.k12.fl.us email address that I assign you guys in Turnitin.com in the database there. You'll have to create a password and log in. So once you log in, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. You should have two tabs. You should have an instructor tab and a student tab. The student tab will allow you to see things as the students would. The instructor tab, on the other hand, allows you to set up your classes. So we're going to go here. And these are all, you can see all of my expired classes that I have in here. I'm going to go to my active classes. And I'm going to click Add a Class. The easiest way to do this is simply click Add a Class on the right-hand side. You're going to go through, it is a standard class here. Class name, I'm going to call it Higgins Trial 1. Okay, the enrollment key has to be between 4 and 12 characters. So I'm going to say Higgins 1, pretty easy. And the enrollment key is what your students are going to use to get into your class. Not only will you have a class name, but you'll then have a class ID. One of the nice things about Turnitin.com is you can use it one of two ways. You can either create a class for each period that you have. So for instance, if you taught English for 3 periods in the day, you could create 3 different classes and have your students submit it that way. You could also, however, create one English 4 class, so all of your students would upload their assignments there and you would see everybody at the same time. So it is totally up to you how you do it. It doesn't matter because you're going to give your students the class name and the enrollment key, so it really doesn't matter how you prefer to do it. I am going to go to subject areas then, and I'm a social studies honorary member of the social studies department, so I'm going to click social studies, and I'm going to click 17 through 18 because I'm going to teach juniors and seniors psychology today. And for class end date, I'm going to go to June, let's say June 9th. I don't know exactly when our school year ends this year, but somewhere around there, and I'm going to hit submit. Once I hit submit, you're going to see class created, and it'll have a class ID for you. Again, this is what you're going to give your students, and then the enrollment key. So when your students go on to make an account, and I'll share a YouTube video with you that I didn't make, that somebody else made about how students should create an account, they'll enter in this class ID, the enrollment key, and they will be then linked to your class. And whenever they go to submit a paper, they will literally just go straight there into Turnitin.com, and they will submit it that way. So you can just check for their submissions there. Turnitin.com does also link with a program we use in IB called ManageBack, so it is pretty intuitive there, and it may also link with other programs that you're using. So if you're using something else and you're not sure if it'll link to those programs, please let me know, and I'll be happy to look into that further. I'm not sure how it links with Schoology or if that's an option, but it is something I can look into if anybody's interested in that. So again, we have our enrollment key, we have our class ID here. If you forget the class ID, it is always on the left-hand side. There's my class name, and I'm going to click on that. Again, here I would see my students. I'm going to add an assignment, and then if my students submit an assignment, the assignment will show up here. It'll populate in this list. So to add an assignment, I simply click Add Assignment, hopefully. Of course, at this point, my internet's going to bog down on me. So I'm going to call it assignment title. I'm going to say, paper 1, okay, point value, 100 points, great. Start date, end date, sure, I'll leave it at that. Only allow file types that Turnitin.com can check for similarity. I typically check this because I do want it to be a Word or a PDF document that Turnitin.com can reference among their sources. If you click any file type, there may be something that doesn't get checked. And then the post date means that when it's going to post for students to see their, or for you to see their Turnitin.com similarity index. There are a number of optional settings here. You can enter specific instructions for your students. You can allow assignments after the due date. I always check this one because you always have that kid, especially with distance learning now, who's going to struggle with internet or things like that. I always say yes for generate similarity reports for submissions because I do want to see that. That's kind of the main goal of Turnitin.com. And I have them generate immediately. The other thing that I like about this is you can allow for Turnitin.com to show the students their similarity index, and I'm okay with that. I've never seen anything negative about that. And in fact, if I see anything that's glaringly negative, then I call the student back in and we discuss it further. Exclude bibliographic materials from similarity index. You can debate that, whether you want to include or not include that. Exclude quota materials from similarity index. It's totally up to you. If you click no, they'll just be highlighted, and you'll have to go through and kind of see if things were quoted appropriately. Allow students to see similarity reports. This is the one that I always check yes, because again, I want it to be a learning process for the students, and I want us to grow using this resource, not as a gotcha situation. Submit papers to standard paper repository. I always click that, and search options and so forth. So it'll search current and archived internet sources, periodicals, journals, publications, and so forth, in addition to student paper repository. You can put a rubric on here, or you can create a rubric if you want, or you can simply add a rubric. And you can also enable a grammar rating, E-rated grammar technology here as well, if you'd like to do that. The other thing I do typically is I will check down here and save this. I don't know why it's not allowing me to check it right now, but I do typically check this and save as defaults for future assignments, just so that I typically use the same format all the way through. And then I will click submit. Notice that your students will not actually be able to submit a paper until you've created an assignment. So just creating the class isn't enough. It is a two-part process. You create a class and then you create the assignment. And your students are now, who are enrolled in your class, are actually going to go on here. Let's see if we can go into the student view. They should be able to go on here. Okay, if my internet goes through, and it's not, I guess it's not showing it because I haven't enrolled actually in the class. But if I go in here and I enroll in the class, let's see if I can type for you guys real quick. Begins one, part one, begins one. I may need the enrollment key, so it may not allow me to do that. I'm going to go back here and go to instructor, and I'm going to find this Higgins trial one. I'll take this ID, go back to the student view, and I'm going to enroll in a class. Copy that in, begins one, and let's see if this allows me to enroll in the class. There we go. Okay, so that you can show your students how to enroll in a class. Literally from the student view, all they're going to do is go to enroll in class. They enter that ID code. It cannot be the name of your class, unfortunately, like I thought it was, but it's your ID code and then your password, and that allows them then into the class itself. So the students, if they want to submit an assignment, they can click on your class, and here they can see, here's where I submit my assignment inbox. I have paper one to do. I'm going to submit that paper, and then I'll give them all their similarity index and so forth. Going back to the instructor tab quickly, I'm going to click on, again, my trial class here. And this shows me what it looks like. I have one student enrolled in this class at this point, and it's going to show me the paper because I've created that assignment. Remember, that is the crucial second step there, that you create that assignment. And I can see that Jonathan Higgins has not submitted. If I have submitted, there will come with a similarity index. I can then grade on here. I can leave feedback on here, so it is a great resource for that as well. I'm going to go back to, let me get out of this class. Guys, I'm going to try and get out of this class. Go to my original account and get out of this class and show you what some of my archive classes look like. I can go to expired classes here as well, and I can take you to, for instance, let's look at my IB psychology course. This was the internal assessment that my IB psychology students turned in. So again, this is in that add assignment. So I've created the class, IB psychology, and then create the assignment, internal assessment. And then you can see that my students submitted their work here. 71 out of 74 students submitted here. I then can click on this, and I will see every student here, and I will see their similarity index. I can then, of course, grade the paper. There's a paper ID. I can see the actual file itself, so I can download the file. If I want to do that, I can see the similarity index. So we're going to go here to somebody with, let's say, 11% similarity index. I can pull this up, and I can actually look at this student's paper, and it'll highlight in this feedback studio. It's a nice tour of the feedback studio as well. Because this is expired, it actually won't let me make any changes to it, but it will go through, and it'll show me very specifically where some of these sources came from. So you can see the things that may have been taken directly from other sources and so forth. So again, there's a lot of really good stuff to be had here as you go through and investigate students' papers further. Again, this is a tool that we use in IB to prevent our students from getting flagged for plagiarism from IB. It's not really a punitive tool that we use it as. We use it as a tool to simply have those conversations, those critical conversations with our students to say, look, there's something wrong here. How can we go about changing it? I think that's about all you need to know for Turnitin.com. I'm sure there's other things, great things that you can do with your gradebook, with your calendar, but those are the very simple things that I use Turnitin.com or have used it for. If you guys should have any further questions about Turnitin.com, please don't hesitate to track me down. Come see me anytime in my office or shoot me an email, and I will be more than happy to help you get all this stuff set up. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and happy writing.